Have you ever noticed that in a group of friends it's pretty rare for you to agree on who your favorite Vanguard character is? Well, I think that your favorite character probably has a lot to do with your temperament and your humor. And I know that my What Your Clan Says About You video was kind of a joke video, but this is actually something I think is pretty interesting. So some context here. I graduated a few years ago with a history degree, and a friend and I were talking the other day and we came up to Hippocrates. This was a Greek physician who lived around 400 BC, and he's actually the guy that the Hippocratic Oath that doctors need to take to get their license is named after. Hippocrates, while probably not the originator of this, was a big pusher of the medical theory of the four humors, or the four temperaments. And it's with this that I can probably guess on which your favorite character in the Vanguard anime is. Now, as these are based on the idea of groups of fours, let's focus on the main two quartets in the show, being Q4 and AL4. First, I should probably explain what the four humors are, though. The idea of humorism is based around the amount and balance of four basic bodily fluids. Depending on which is dominant, it can affect your personality and your behavior. Obviously, the medical basis is just completely wrong as hell, but the psychological theory is still really interesting and cool. Anyways, these four fluids were blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. If one of these fluids was more dominant than the other, then an individual would typically fall into a different category. If your blood was dominant, for example, you were a sanguine. If your phlegm was dominant, you'd be phlegmatic. If your yellow bile was dominant, you'd be choleric. And if your black bile was dominant, you'd be melancholic. So, what does this all mean? Well, you probably prefer characters who fit into the same category as you, and the really interesting way which Vanguard contrasts Team Q4 and AL4 is that while each team has a member in each category, they display different prominent traits from that category. It'll make more sense when I explain them, I guess. So, let's start with Sanguine. Sanguine temperament goes to the hot-blooded people who are energetic and social. Some people can describe them as too enthusiastic, but at the end of the day, they have a lot of charisma and can often drag people into whatever their current nonsense is. Think of this almost like a class clown. In Q4's case, we have Kamui. He is always going a mile a minute, and he never seems to really slow down. He's super energetic and always gives 100% to whatever he's doing. On the AL4 side, though, we have Kyo. Kyo also has a lot of energy, and his big role in the show so far was dragging Aichi around to challenge different AL4 members. While Kyo might not have the lovability of Kamui, he definitely has the charisma to convince others to join him and prefers to work in social groups when possible. In fact, I don't think we've ever actually seen him do anything on his own, as he always has either lackeys or other teammates with him. Next up is Phlegmatic. If you have dominant phlegm, which, wow, that's a gross sentence, you probably are relaxed, quiet, and easygoing. You deeply care for those around you, but you have a really hard time showing your emotions. Now, if this isn't Kai and Tetsu in a nutshell, then I don't know what is. Kai might as well be Mr. Hide Your Emotions. However, especially in his story with Ren and Aichi, you can definitely see how much he cares about his friends. Tetsu, on the other hand, is completely devoted to Ren and is willing to make any compromise needed to make sure his friend's dream comes true. On top of that, I think you'd be pretty hard-pressed to name a single person who's more stoic than Tetsu. He's basically the definition of relaxed and quiet, even while essentially leading a small army. Melancholic. Melancholic people are dominated by black bile and tend to be analytical and detail-oriented. They are known to think about things way more than other people and show deep emotional connection. They're self-reliant, but also heavily strive for perfection. Here we have Misaki and Asuka. Misaki's known to be one of the smartest and most analyzing characters in the show, and despite her passionate feelings for her friends, she's more than happy to be self-reliant and independent. Asuka, on the other hand, focuses on the idea of emotional connections. Her main character trait is that she's head over heels for Ren. You can also look at the Pale Moon deck that she plays as a nod to her being detail-oriented, as a lot of the time this clan has a more complicated and planned-out turn than others in the game. Either way, it's pretty plain to see that both these characters strive to be perfect and take it very hard when they fall short. Finally, we have Choleric. These guys have a lot of yellow bile and tend to be leaders. They're goal-oriented, often honor or duty-bound, and filled to the brim with ambition. And here we have Aichi and Ren. Aichi's a pure-hearted guy who feels it's his duty to do the right thing. Even his clan, the Royal Paladins, are all about duty as knights to defend their king and their friends. He's definitely a leader, especially in the newest arc, and whenever he sets a goal, he achieves it. Ren shares a lot of these traits, as he's also an ambitious leader with a goal that he works to achieve, but the major difference is that while Aichi is focused on duty, Ren is focused on his own honor. He wants to be the strongest, he wants to have a serious and fair fight based on just ability, and if he sets a target, like defeating Kai for example, he doesn't want anyone else to dishonor him by interfering with it or reaching that goal first. Also, before you say Psyqualia isn't fighting by ability or being fair, I think that Ren probably sees Psyqualia as a result of his dedication and the development of his ability in the game, so he probably sees it as just, this is me being more talented than you than some extraterrestrial ability. And with the 4 humors being broken up into these 8 different characters, it's pretty easy for someone watching to be drawn to one over the others. So depending on what your dominant trait is, I could probably guess which your favorite character is. For me, my favorite is Ren. So who is it for you? And what do you guys think of humorism? But yeah, this is just a quick look at what humorism is, and there's like tons more to it. But overall, it's just something that I thought was really interesting and that fit the show pretty well. Humorism is actually sometimes known as the Ninja Turtle theory, as the turtles follow the same path, and whichever you aligned with was usually your favorite, and it rarely depended on who the coolest was, but like I said, it's more about who you saw yourself in most. And Vanguard really nails its character writing, as it not only displays the 4 humors, but also displays them in 2 different lights between the teams. The Vanguard anime gets a lot of shit for being what is essentially a big marketing campaign, which, yeah, it totally is. But I think it's still really cool to present the idea of the 4 humors in this way, and for a show about card games, it just didn't have to do that, but I'm glad it did. Anyways, this has been a bit of a different video, and it was more theoretical than my usual, but I hope you guys found it at least interesting, if not something cool. If you did enjoy, be sure to leave a comment and let me know. You can also subscribe to the channel and leave a like to see more Vanguard content. And yeah, let me know if you want to see more philosophical or psychological analysis like this in the future. But with all that being said, this has been Miracle Trigger, and I will see you in the next video.